Here we go. So, Thomas Haden Church, your new show Divorce on HBO is all about the very comic subject of divorce. I wonder how you and Sarah Jessica Parker and Sharon Horgan, the creator of this show, find comedy in such a grim subject matter.
You know, we set out whenever it was first pitched to me, which has been 2.5 years ago now. It was, they just wanted to have a very sort of, and I'll pepper the interview with some cliches. They really wanted a sort of warts and all kind of sea-level view. And I've never gone through a divorce, nor has Sarah Jessica. Don't know about Sharon. I don't think she has. But we all have, you know, sort of a common, you know, sort of what's the word I'm looking at? There's a mutuality to friends and family and you know, clergymen that have gone through divorce. And so you kind of, just being an adult, there's an aggregate of information about those situations. And then of course everybody's gone through breakups. So there was just sort of this commonality, I guess, that whatever it is, like the universal shared experience of like you said, knowing people and sort of becoming involved even, you know, like you hear the expression like, well, yeah, you know, they got divorced and, you know, I inherit, you know, the wife inherited, you know, my girlfriend and the husband inherited me as a friend. And, you know, so it really, the comedy part of it, we just always wanted it to be very straightforward and which is to say just as humanly sort of grounded as possible. So nobody ever thought, you know, oh boy, this is, I'm trying to fix my rogue hair. Nobody ever thought, oh yeah, this is, you know, this is the next Big Bang Theory. You know, nobody ever thought it was going to be that, like, just laugh ridden, because especially in the first season, when we just finished shooting the second season, I just got home on Saturday night from being in New York for almost 3 months. Nobody ever thought it's just going to be a laugh-o-rama. We knew it was going to be fraught with, you know, as much drama as comedy.
Right, and it's a wonderful example of sort of recent dramedy shows, you know, that blend comedy and drama, all with a measure of truth behind it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and the stories that we chose to tell in the first season, it really was, okay, there's the initial, I don't love you, oh okay, I still love you. But then Robert finds out about her sexual betrayal, and then it starts going in, you know, we start just going into this, I don't know, intermingling of wormholes of what you did and what she did and what he did and what they did and who betrayed who, and, you know, who is duplicitous with whom. And it what starts off with a very simple, I don't think I love you and I don't think I want to be in this marriage, it turns into a much more labyrinthine scenario than you know, and I don't know that it's ever easy. You hear stories about people like, oh yeah, our divorce was, you know, was easier than our wedding, and, you know, and we're still friends, but I don't know about any of that.
Right. So tell us a bit about Robert and some of the qualities about him that stuck out to you when you were first figuring out who the character was.
He was a very emotionally isolated dude who, there was this real sense of doom with him, that there was a lot that he was really masking. He wasn't necessarily deceitful, but I think there was a lot of sort of emotional dishonesty by omission with Robert, that he just sort of was very surface. He was just a very superficial husband, father, friend. He just was kind of lurking and trying to keep, again, as much sort of obscure as he could about what was really going on with him emotionally. And that sort of tangentially, that shoots out into how nefarious is he with his business dealings, with his communication with friends, and quite frankly, his communication with his wife and his kids. Because we kind of quickly learn, I would say really the first half of the season, that there's a whole lot going on that he hasn't been forthright about.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I liked that. I liked that it was not, there was a complexity but it was like a complexity that kind of leaned towards the dark, with this guy. He's not a snappy, jokey, energetic guy. And it's because life is sort of kind of beating his hooves off a little bit. And he's just sort of trying to get by until she calls him out, on just trying to get by. And even the way he goes about hiring lawyers, and he's just kind of doing the minimum that he has to do to function. But that turns into whatever it does.
Well, how does this divorce change Robert over the course of the first season? Or does it change him at all?
It does. And without giving too much away, but like I said, we just finished shooting the second season Friday night. I would say that they both was starting out with the second season. There's a kind of a freedom, of course, but a freedom that is a little bit more easily embraced than either of them thought was possible. They both, I think, imagined this very murky world of singlehood and being just being divergent with their journeys post split up. And I think that we're sort of trying to lend a more hopeful tone than I think was there in the first season, that everybody can be okay, everybody can be healthy. And we really focus on relationships with the kids, relationships with friends. And I think in a very organic way, Robert and Frances however controlled and contained that marriage was, to the point that it went off like a grenade. Now it's whatever they thought that fractiousness might deliver negatively, they just sort of let everything breathe. And I think it turns into a world that, while there still is some conflict and some confrontation, because other personalities come into that family sphere, it's like once the marriage is sort of, I will say, once the separation is legal, and it's just all these other dynamics start to intervene that you can't predict, you certainly can't control, and I think that's good. I think that the unknown brings a sort of a bounty, something bountiful to their lives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's a long answer.
Working with Sarah Jessica Parker, I mean, how do you guys create that kind of dynamic between the two of you? Animosity, a little bit of love there. I mean, I hope you two don't hate each other on set as much as you do on the show.
I don't know that I've ever gotten along with a co-star more than SJ. She and I worked together on a movie called Smart People, and we didn't shoot that much together, but when we promoted the movie, we spent some time together doing interviews. And she's just a delightful person, excellent energy all the time, and just this great, sharp wit, but also very self-deprecating, and and just fits in to virtually any situation so well, so seamlessly, because she's been doing this as a professional for, I think, over 40 years.
Wow.
I think she told me they moved to New York in January of '77 to, for her family moved so that SJ could pursue a career as a child actor. And so she's been doing it so long. I mean, I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I can't imagine transplanting my daughter to New York, to become a professional actor. I couldn't even imagine it. But, it's just, she has just a great professional maturity to her. There's just, so you know what I mean? Like, it's just low maintenance with SJ. It's really, she's just great, and she gets along great with Molly and with Talia, and Tracy Letts is, plays Molly's husband, and he's terrific. And it's really over the course of shooting these last 3 months, so many of the crew people that weren't with us last year just would come up to me and was like, this is such an easy cast. This is such an easy environment. And it all starts with her. It really starts with her.
I was going to bring up the supporting cast. I mean, you mentioned all of them, and especially with Tracy Letts and Molly Shannon is like in that first episode, their marriage has disintegrated so much. Can you talk
But
a bit?
they started coming back around at the end of the season, and now the second season again, and not so much a mirror reflection of Robert and Frances, but it's like they've sort of moved beyond, the detonation of what happened, and now they're sort of reforming and circling the wagons, and they still have some conflict in their marriage, just like any marriage, but they have their own interesting story this season, and they're both just supremely gifted actors, both of them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you've got a great team of writers and directors, starting right up at the top with the creator Sharon Horgan. What do they give you that helps you guys take the drama and the comedy to the next level?
I mean, the staff from last season to this season, and I credit HBO. They managed to just maintain a very steady level of quality is the easiest word, but I would say sophistication with the writing, with the people that are brought in to support, Sharon and the other executive producers. It's just, it really starts at HBO, and it's just like I said, their premium standard has gone on for so long that they don't ever let anything air. I mean, I think they've shot certainly pilots and maybe even multi-episode shows, and they just didn't make the cut, and it's because whatever, there was something that just did not meet their very high standards of broadcast. So it's got a lot to do with HBO.
Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you just a couple of other things. You received an Oscar nomination for one of my favorite movies, Sideways.
You actually resemble a young Paul Giamatti.
You know what? You're not the first person to ever tell me that.
Sure, I'm not. And maybe why it's one of your favorite movies.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder, I mean, first of all, what that recognition meant to you, but also, 13 years onward, this movie is still beloved by so many people. What does that mean to you to have been a part of that?
It is. It is because I was talking to somebody recently, and I said, yeah, I did this picture, because to me now it seems like a long time ago. I mean, we shot it in the fall of '03, and then all of the attention was in the fall and winter of 2004 and 5. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and it was somebody in New York. I said, yeah, I did this picture Sideways. And they just sort of laughed, and they're like, yeah, I'm well aware of Sideways. It's one of my favorite, movies. And so I guess it certainly stood the test of time over the last decade plus, which, I guess is a testament to maybe a timelessness of the storytelling and but it was a great experience. And Alexander Payne, and company continue, I think, with excellent filmmaking. He's gotten a lot of attention and recognition for his work since Sideways. In fact, I think this fall he's got a big movie coming out with Matt Damon and
Downsizing, yes.
Witherspoon. Yeah, what is it? Downsizing?
Downsizing, yes.
Yeah, Downsizing. I knew it was something downsized or downsizing, but that's a big movie, really big movie. But it was a great film to be a part of, and it definitely sort of was I would say, the next fuel stage. It happened in my early 40s, and even today, I would have never done Smart People had it not been for Sideways, and which means I wouldn't have worked with SJ, and which that experience led straight to divorce. I'm still reaping the benefits of Sideways, and maybe I always will. God willing, I can maintain a standard of my own in my career that people appreciate.
And then immediately following that, you won an Emmy for Broken Trail, which was a TV movie you did with Robert Duvall. I wonder if you could talk a bit about what that recognition meant and the experience of that film.
Whenever I first moved to LA in '89 and I started working and mostly in television, then I was on a series called Wings for 6 seasons. And that was really the thing. It actually predates the SAG Awards. And that was really the recognition that everybody was pursuing. Everybody, when I was worked in TV in the early 90s, it's like everybody wanted, you were like, yeah, it'd be great to get a supporting actor nomination, an Emmy nomination. And then after Sideways and a lot of the critical stuff that happened surrounding Sideways, Broken Trail was a couple of years later. And I was so thrilled to work with Duvall in a Western and with Walter Hill. And I just loved the story. But when the movie got the critical acclaim that it did, it was funny because it was this whole other level of recognition that I'd sort of forgotten about because I hadn't worked in TV for so long. By the time I did Broken Trail, I'd pretty much been out of television for 10 years. And so, for that to happen all over again with the Globe nomination, SAG nom, to win an Emmy, it just was like, it was so completely unexpected. I was just thrilled to be in a Western with Robert Duvall. But, that stuff, it's an affirmation, and everybody pretty much says the same thing unless they're just egomaniacal. But it really is an affirmation that your peers recognize something that you're proud to be a part of. And that really, any of that stuff, from the Oscar nomination to winning an Emmy, it's just that your peers, your industry professional peers, and to some extent, the audience too, because they do play a part in how movies and television are received, a huge part. But I mean, it all is sort of conjoined, I think, that you've done something, whether it's from an audience perspective or industry peer perspective, you've done something that's noteworthy, and that's, it's nice. It's because there's so many, I think there's so many industry people, whether they're actors, writers, directors, producers, directors of photography, there's so many that kind of go along and have lengthy careers, but never get that recognition. And I don't know. And there's so many of them that are huge favorites of mine, whether they're character actors or producers or writers. But I don't know. I guess I sort of hope that everybody gets, however, small a ray of sunshine, a recognition they can. I just hope that everybody gets it, that does notable work. And because there is a lot of stuff that, it becomes popular for a lot of reasons that, may not be deserving. So.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas Haden Church, thank you so much, and congratulations on your divorce, work on divorce. You're welcome. Have a good one.